Hey, what's up, guys? I'm back. Just like piggybacking off of the last video that I did, just giving you some background story. Like I said, I've been married for 10 years, you know, and you go through things and you try to, stay afloat. Married with two kids, a boy and a girl. I mean, you have to elevate to a certain level, especially when your kids getting older. You want to set the example, you want to set the bar, right? I actually seen a way out. Most people don't get the opportunity, and actually, when people are presented an opportunity, they actually put it to the wayside, and they just ignore it. So like I said, I got my CDL back in November of 2025. Like I said, I used to look on posts and like Indeed and see how much they were paying, like 1,600, 1,300 a week. And that was something I can deal with, as far as like saving up money, investing. Like I said, I went and pursued it, and it came out to where you're actually getting paid cost per mile. And it's basically like you got unlimited overtime, but you working minimum wage. That's why you getting paid so much, because there's long hours in trucking. But I was fortunate enough to get a trucking job, to where I'm home every night. Usually, when you don't have a lot of experience, um, they want you on the road, gone for 2 weeks, 3 weeks at a time. So, that's something that I wasn't going to do. They only give you a 34-hour reset. So I felt that would like break my family structure. So, um, my wife actually applied to Amazon, AFP, Amazon Freight Partner, and they actually accepted me with no experience, which was a blessing. So actually, I'm home every night, 13-hour days, 3 days out of the week. So it's about 39 hours, and then I got the other 4 days that are free, which I'm working at Amazon delivery. So I've been doing Amazon delivery for the past 2 years, and when I seen the schedule that the AFP had, which was 3 days, I said I'm taking it. Just off the bat. You got to stay laser focused. You got to stay, just grounded, because most people aren't living for their future selves. You always got to live for your future self. You always have to think about, because as you get older, you're not going to want to work. So if you're in your 30s right now, you need to be thinking about where you're going to be at 45, where you're going to be at 50. Always look 10 to 15 years ahead. A lot of people like to say live in a moment, but the moment is going to keep going and going and going. Your time and age is just going to keep going up, 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 and up. So this is the time you need to be paying attention to what your life is going to look like at 40 and 50. And I say, in your 40s you're still young, 50 you're still young. That's how I look at it. So I'm in my 30s now. I'm only 36, so I'm looking like I'm trying to retire by 45. I was fortunate enough to save up a substantial amount of money right now, and I'm proud of that. So when I increased my income, I didn't increase my lifestyle. So a lot of people like to increase their lifestyle when they increase their income, and that's moving backwards. So I was saying that my rent is only $1,300 a month, which is very rare in today's time. Yes, the landlord has been um, hiking up the price year by year, but it's still at a good price. From what I see out here now, that for a 1 bedroom they charge about $1,800, which I'm in Jersey, by the way. So you know these are things that we had to think about. I didn't move. I didn't. go and buy another fancy car. Um, I'm still driving my same 2003 Toyota Camry. Like I said, I do have another car, a 2017 Chevy Equinox, which I let my wife drive. Actually, I'm having more problems with the Chevy Equinox than the Toyota Camry. And the Toyota Camry has, what, 200 something thousand miles on it. So, I'm not upgrading the lifestyle. I do spend money on some leisure activities here and there. But for the most part, if I'm at work all the time, then I'm making money and not losing money. When I'm at home, I might be losing some money, because it's like when I do have a day off, I do want to enjoy it instead of just like laying around or whatever. So I might spend it here and there, but it's nothing too crazy, nothing too extravagant. Take the wife out on a date. This is the importance of just going hard, because if you look at yourself within a year, you can be a whole different person. So this is the time to actually get on the grind. If you see a way out, if you have, because some people aren't even fortunate enough to even get 2 jobs. You got to pay for babysitters, you got kids, it might not work out, the schedule might not work out with your first job. Anything can happen. So I was fortunate enough for this to even work. Now, your regular average person might not even look at it like that. They like, man, I'm not even working 2 jobs. That's too much. But it's like, what else are you doing? Are you on social media scrolling all day? Are you working on something else? It's like, what are you actually really doing on your off time? You drinking, smoking? So these are things you got to think about. And, what I do with my money, I've been saving $400 a week, cash, putting it up in the safe. And then, I'm investing $35 a day in the crypto. So, people think like, all right, oh yeah, crypto is scam. And most of the time they buying high and they selling low. So they want to try to ride the wave up on the FOMO. But then it's like when they come crash it down, then they want to sell. It's the opposite. You need to sell when it's low. Buy when it's low, accumulate when it's low, and then you sell at the top, right? Most people doing the opposite. They doing it backwards. So when people start saying this is scam, or like, oh yeah, the market's crashing, and it's a lot of fear, that's when I love to buy. And I do dollar cost average because it's like I used to put all of my money in at once, but now you're not going to have no cash if it dips. So that's another thing I had to think about. And it's like I went through 2 cycles. So this is the reason that I really know what to do now. So I'm investing $35 a day, which that's about like roughly $1,000 a month, $1,600 a month in cash reserves, and then I let the rest sit in my bank account. So I got an account for my son, right, and my daughter, and I'm building my wife's account as well. So I'm just most definitely thinking about the future. How can I prosper? I just contacted the mortgage people, or because I'm trying to buy a house, and they said you need 2 years on the job. So I just paid off everything on my credit. Credit shot up. Now I just got me some credit cards, and basically gonna keep the utilization low on that, at least 10%. So trying to move in the right direction. My 20s been working in the warehouse. I had my own business. I had my own business on Etsy. I was selling sea moss gummies, deodorant, mouthwash, toothpaste, you name it. And I have repeat customers, but it was just I was getting most of my money off of new customers, because Etsy had, they had free marketing. So, you know, I took advantage of it. And in 4 years straight, I was, running my own business. But the downfall of that is that I couldn't save how I wanted to, and I couldn't invest how I wanted to. I just made enough to pay my bills and, pay for leisure activities, for the kids and the wife. Benefit of it is that I had time freedom, created my own schedule, had more time with the family. One day I was kicked off of the platform for, I guess I posted something that already had a photo that was on the internet. It was one of my listings, and they said it was copyright infringement or something like that. It was something silly. And after 4 years, just like that, I lost everything. And I had to go back to work. But everything happens for a reason, because now I'm able to save, and now I'm able to invest how I need to. So it's most definitely a blessing. I just want to let anybody out there know that if you got an opportunity to go out there and get it, you need to take it, and you need to think about the future. If you go hard for a year, you most definitely, I'm telling you, I think I'm making about 74 in the good month, 66 on the bad. So, this is giving me time and opportunity to just do what I need to do, right? So, I'm just sharing my story with y'all. I'll be back to most definitely document my journey and just tell you where I'm at in life. So if you like what you're hearing, most definitely to subscribe, and I'll be back with another one. See you on the next video.